Broadcasting from the ARN Racing Studios in Southern California. A turn for media company, ARN Los Angeles. This is ARN, the American Racing Network, the Motorsports Authority. Now,
drivers, start your engine!
You're shifting gears on ARN with Alan Bailey.
Well, there goes the neighborhood.
You name it, we got it. NASCAR.
Kyle Busch, the 2015 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion.
Yeah, you guys are awesome!
IndyCar.
Scott Dixon not only wins in Sonoma, but wins the 2015 championship.
We win on the tiebreak.
Incredible performance.
Drag racing.
Pop the corks, Antron Brown is the champion for the second time in his career.
Supercross.
Ryan Dungey becomes the 2015 Monster Energy AMA Supercross champion.
And so much more. So get ready. You're shifting gears on ARN with Alan Bailey.
Welcome on in, Gearheads. You are shifting gears on a Monday, February 1st, 2016. I'm Alan Bailey at The Alan Bailey on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, where you can get involved in the program. Lots of stuff coming up today on the program on the first show in the month of February. Speed Weeks right around the corner for NASCAR out in Daytona. Kurt Busch and Denny Hamlin will be on the program today talking about Speed Weeks coming up and their season and everything that's been going on with them during their offseason. Had a chance to catch up with them a couple days ago. We'll be talking, or you'll be hearing those interviews during the program today. Rolex 24 out in Daytona this last weekend. How much did you watch? I didn't watch as much as I'd like because, like most of you, I don't have Fox Sports 2, so I missed a good chunk of the coverage, like most of us did, because we don't want to pay the extra $10 jillion a month in order to get that channel. So, I had to watch online through social media and everything like the rest of you, but Fox Sports 1 did provide a good amount of coverage. Got to watch a majority of that. We'll recap everything that happened during the Rolex 24, as well as a couple of the cool storylines that happened during the course of the weekend out in Daytona. Also, Supercross out in Oakland. Going to talk about Ryan Dungey winning 3 in a row. Who didn't see that coming, and all the storylines out there. Plus, we're going to get ready because we've got... We really have the Winter Nationals around the corner. A couple of news and notes from the Winter Nationals coming up over the course of, or that are coming up here pretty soon that we're going to be talking about. And controversy from a couple of weeks ago in Supercross that kind of reared its ugly head again this last weekend out in Oakland. And is it the start of something that AMA needs to get involved in? I'm kind of leaving that one little open for you guys to really discover and make the decision on that. But getting a little ahead of ourselves, we got to start off the show with today's Hot Topics presented by NerdgasmPodcast.com. Honda winning out in the Rolex 24 overall as well this in 2016. It was the Tequila Patron ESM Honda that won out in Daytona this last weekend. But maybe that's not the story of the weekend. Probably the story of the weekend, the fact that GT had such an amazing finish with those 2 Corvettes that you kind of forgot who actually won overall. We'll talk about it and recap everything in the program. Plus, out in Oakland, Ryan Dungey making it 3 in a row in 450. And did Cooper Webb continue his streak that dated back to 2015? He did not. Engine issues and vapor locking, believe it or not, causing issues for Webb that made him finish well off the podium. Bad finish for Webb, and we'll talk about what happened to Webb's bike. Vapor locking? How does that even happen? We'll talk about it. And stop me if you've heard this headline before. Winston Peck and Freeze are at it again. Yeah, they made contact during a heat race, and the video is kind of so-so. Winston Peck, Freeze, getting into it. I don't know. Peck got into Freeze. Freeze went down. Drama. I don't know. And does AMA need to get involved in this one? We'll talk about it in the program. Kurt Busch and Denny Hamlin, both going to be on the program today. Got a chance to catch up with them earlier this week. Not only is Denny Hamlin talking about how well he is for this week, for the start of the 2016 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, but just what's going on at Joe Gibbs Racing that has him excited and concerned for the season. And Kurt Busch deeply contemplating whether or not to run the 100th Indianapolis 500 this season. He ran it 2 seasons ago, finished 6th in the double. Thinking about doing the double again. I got a chance to catch up with him to see if he wants to do it again and to see if he's actually seriously considering it and maybe trying to convince him along the way. We'll talk about that in the program as well. Plus, new sponsor for one NASCAR Sprint Cup Series team that is a first in the industry. You're not going to want to go anywhere because this one is extremely interesting. And Dean Wilson out with an ACL tear for the rest of the season, but could he possibly make a comeback earlier than expected? We'll talk about it in the program as well. Don't go anywhere because these headlines and more coming up on Shifting Gears. From the ARN News Desk, I'm Alan Bailey. Those are your hot topics. See, I went a little weird right there at the end because some of you requested that on social media, so I did it, so shut up from now on, okay? I got you your weird little, whatever you want to call it, outro there. So, the end. It's over. Let's move on, please. A couple of, another interesting note, Ed Carpenter Racing back for the 2016 season. They kind of changed their name back to the Ed Carpenter moniker. You remember last season, Ed Carpenter and Sarah Fisher kind of merged, if you will, and it was more or less Ed Carpenter who continued the on-track product, and the CFH Racing in 2015 has now become Ed Carpenter Racing. It's going to remain headquartered in its current location on Main Street in Speedway, Indiana, rather. It's co-owned by Ed Carpenter, Tony George, and Stuart Reed. Those are your owners and your basically, people who are in charge down there, for lack of a better word. Why Ed Carpenter Racing? Well, they wanted to return to it for 16. They had some partnership changes in that organization, and they wanted to go back to how it was back since the 2012 season and continue that in IndyCar ever from then on. Sarah Fisher, Hartman Racing combined in late 14 to create that single car. They did win 2 races in 15 with Joseph Newgarden, collected an additional 3 podium finishes, as well as a P1 award pole position. Sarah Fisher and Wink Hardman became co-owners of that. They've decided to focus on other business interests, quote-unquote, and she's going to continue to assist with sponsorship development and working on the team in the background. And that's fine. Everybody kind of has their own... I don't want to say their own niche, but, some things didn't work out. This seems like it's more of a management personnel change, and it just ended up working out. Frankly, everything was kind of up in the air, and everything more or less was being run by the people who ran Ed Carpenter Racing over there last year. So this is just kind of, frankly, changing the name and making everything official. But we do know that they're going to have 2 cars in 2016, the number 21 Chevrolet, driven by Joseph Newgarden, and the number 20 for, really, we're going to see Carpenter in it as well, but they're looking for the road course and street course events for somebody for that car right now, or they found it and they just haven't made it official, but you can tell that everything's kind of going in a good direction right there because right now the team of Carpenters, that number 20 seat, is really the R&D team that's trying new radical things. Newgarden's number 21 Chevy, that's the team that's running for the championship, and the goal of the 20 team is to get the 21 performing as well as it can be and as good as it can be for the entire 2016 season. That's the smart move. That's the right move, and I look forward to seeing what these guys can do in 2016. Keep an eye on them. I think they're going to be dangerous in the long haul, and they've been serious contenders. They just need to work on the consistency that kind of lacked from the team last season. They're running up in the top 10, up in the top 5 at times, and And obviously, when they're running up front, they win, but they need to run in the top 5, not just in the top 10, and they need to really contend for more wins. And I think we'll see that with this management change that they've set forth for the 2016 season. So just give them a season. Let's see where they are this time next year. Possibly series contenders by the end of the season. Who knows? Another quick note I want to mention right here, Alexis DeJoria Racing, going back to its roots for the 2016 NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing season. They're going to have Tequila Patron on the car, but they're going back to the black and green paint scheme with Tequila Patron livery for their main car. Remember last year they kind of had that fiery paint scheme that was really cool, but they decided they wanted to go back to black and green. Not a huge change, just kind of a cool little sponsor change here. Patron Team's 5th year sponsoring funny cars. They've returned to that green Patron silver scheme, and it looks very cool. They're getting ready for their season to kick off here. Their season kicking off in just a few weeks, actually. We're going back to Pomona. I'm excited. We're going to be sitting down in a few weeks here with a lot of the drivers from out there. But February 11th through the 14th, going out to Pomona, Auto Club Raceway in Pomona for the Circle K Winter Nationals this season. We're very excited about that to see what everybody has for this season. It's a huge year. Not only is Fox Sports 1 carrying NHRA drag races from now on, but we're actually going to see everything live from now on. So we're not going to have to deal with the ESPN tape delay, where the race happened 5 hours ago, but we're only seeing it at 10 o'clock at night. No more. We're going to see that those finals kick off at 5 p.m. Eastern on February 14th. That's 100% live on Fox Sports 1. That's 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports 1 on February 14th. So happy Valentine's Day, gearheads. I know where you're going to be. Don't go out. Don't fight the crowds. Have a romantic evening at home with some fellow gearheads to kick off the 2016 season. That's a valid thing, right? I'm taking the wife out on Friday so that we can, be at the track on Saturday and Sunday. Works out for me. Nice romantic evening on Friday, so I don't have to deal with, having to fight the crowds on Saturday and Sunday. That works, right? How about a Monday debrief? Can we do a Monday, babe? Can we do that, wife? That makes sense, right? They'll be cool with that, right? She'll be cool with that, right? Ask the significant other. Can we go out Monday night? Because we got to beat the crowds. Yeah, we have to beat the crowds. So many people will be out on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It only makes sense, honey, that we go out Monday night. No one else will be out. Oh, better yet, Thursday night. Oh, wait, no, not Thursday. You know why? People are going to try to jump on that to try to beat the crowds. Plus, we're going to see some on-track action on Thursday out in Pomona. So, let's do everything on Monday after the NHRA teams have left Pomona. We'll do everything Monday. It makes more sense. We'll beat the people, beat the crowds. Yeah, that'll work, right? I don't know. I have a feeling I'm going to get in trouble for that one right there, but I'm willing to accept those if it means I get to spend more time out at the track. That's kind of something I've become accustomed to, unfortunately. We got to step aside right now so that I can call my lawyer and make sure my wife isn't threatening to kill me already. And when we get back, gonna talk to Kurt Busch, talking about will he be making that Indy 500 push? Is he going to try to do that? Is that something that's even on his mind? Is it even logistically possible anymore? We'll talk to him about that. Plus, we'll actually hear from Denny Hamlin later in the program, see how he's progressing with his recovery. He had knee surgery over the offseason, and he called into The Bachelor. I'm going to repeat that. Denny Hamlin called into The Bachelor. He watches The Bachelor. Now, I know a lot of people watch The Bachelor, and if you watch it, I'm not knocking you, but Denny has a girlfriend, and they're in a long-term, seriously committed relationship. They live together. What the hell, Denny? What are you doing, dude? This is like man code violation 101. You're screwing yourself over here, pal. I don't know what you're doing. I had a chance to ask him about it. We'll hear from Denny on this one. Plus, we're going to talk about Dungey winning out in Oakland again. Cooper Webb streak come to an end. Pike and Freeze are at it again. Dean Wilson out for the season. Honda winning out in the Rolex 24 in Daytona. Lots of storylines to cover from the Rolex 24 at Daytona this last weekend, as well as your tweets and your phone calls at 720-600-RACE. That is 720-600-7223. Standard voice and data rates do apply. Don't go anywhere. You're shifting gears right here on ARN.
Take ARN anywhere. Download your favorite ARN programs on iTunes. Keyword search ARN and listen online at arnrace.com.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. You see me around the neighborhood, and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm one out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger.
Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help.
Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me. We are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
It's the Nerdgasm Podcast.
I want to point this out, though. I think Kylo's getting you're getting a bad rep, Kylo, because he stopped a laser blast midair. He can suck thoughts out of your mind.
Yep.
He doesn't fear anybody.
Yep.
Takes a laser blast from Chewie's weapon.
Yep.
Not afraid to show his face. Approaches his enemies often. Fights while bleeding out in the freezing cold.
Oh, yeah.
And he's labeled a crybaby.
All right.
How is he labeled a crybaby?
The internet has labeled him a crybaby.
You know what?
Oh my gosh.
I'm not the internet. I don't know.
Kylo took a lightsaber to the face.
He did.
And he just gave the death stare. He wasn't crying.
That was blood dripping down his face.
Those weren't tears. That was blood, dude.
Exactly. And if you want to claim that it were tears, then it was clearly the snow all over his face.
Now we can set the record straight.
All right.
So, Kylo, no cry baby.
Download new episodes of the Nerdgasm Podcast every Friday on nerdgasmpodcast.com, on iTunes, and now available on Stitcher.
You're shifting gears on ARN. Here's Alan Bailey.
Welcome back in, Gearheads. At the Alan Bailey on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is where you can get me. Also using the hashtag ARNRace in order to get in on this conversation, like this one from Gearhead12748. Interesting number moniker there, Gearhead. It reads, "Hey Alan, do you know why James Stewart backed out of the race early? What's going on with him? Is he good for next week?" Yeah, James Stewart, he did leave the race early. He missed the first 2 rounds, or the last 2 rounds, I should say, because he had a concussion from the season opener in Anaheim. He was back for round 4 this last weekend out in Oakland, and after 8 laps, he pulled off, according to the team, blurry vision. That's the best race I can say. He qualified directly from his heat race and was running 3rd in the main event before his lap times dropped from, basically he was running around 55 or so seconds a lap to 58, give or take, basically between laps 6 and 8. And according to the Suzuki team manager, Mike Webb, the symptoms started early in the main event. Wasn't feeling that good. Rode 3 days this week, put in a lot of laps. He was riding well, and he looked like he was the old James, very solid, and we saw that in the heat race and in the first opening laps in the main. And then right around lap 8 or so, he pulled off. By lap 9, he pulled off. Was struggling with blurry vision. Stewart will go undergo tests this week and see where he's going from there, but not looking good for Stewart for this season. My thing is this. James Stewart is a racer. He's a gearhead, just like the rest of us. He's the one who's going to go out there and try to do his best, but he knows if he's not 100%, he's going to pull off. And it's not like one of those supercross, you got a sprained finger, just put some tape on it, keep going. No, this is a head injury, guys. This is a concussion. Head injuries, concussions, they're different for every single person. Not 2 people are the same as far as their brain and their brain injuries. And that's not an intelligence crack. That's not anything like that. That's a biological fact. No 2 brains are the same. No 2 brains heal the same. They all heal differently, and they take different lengths of time. an injury that James Stewart sustained. Some people can get back on their feet after 2 or 3 weeks. Some people take 2 or 3 months. It depends on the person and basically the type of injury they had on the brain. There's different types of injury on the brain. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to sit here and try to explain head injuries to you because I'm not qualified. I don't know about head injuries, but I know enough to know that every single person heals differently. And there really is no way to tell if a person has healed 100% from a brain injury. The only thing that we know is that James Stewart, even though tests are saying he's okay to ride, clearly he's not saying the same thing because he's feeling something differently. Something in his noggin is not working correctly. And I'm not saying James Stewart has a brain disease and he's going to die, No, don't say, that's not what I'm saying at all. All we know is what we're hearing from the team. The team has doctors, people that they pay, doctors, who examine James. They have experts, leading minds in their field that look at these athletes. They're looking at James Stewart right now to determine why he was basically experiencing blurry vision after 8 laps of the race, and they'll let us know what happens. Obviously, he's day-to-day for this weekend. Don't really know anything other than that, except he's going to head out to Glendale and probably do what he did down in San Diego, where he'll try to race a handful of races and then really just go from there. This is late breaking news. The team just announced this a little while ago, so I don't know. He could literally be getting his head examined as we speak, and we'll know more within a few hours. We'll know in a few days. Maybe the test will reveal something. They'll see how he feels. Friday, when they're at the track, is when we'll actually have a better sense of where he is. Maybe Saturday morning, when practices and things of this nature are going, he gets on the bike, he doesn't feel right, so he steps off of it. That's what I expect to see out of James this weekend out in Glendale. He'll get out there and he'll think, well, not 100% yet. Yeah, let me go ahead and I'll step aside. I can't really do this. Not feeling myself. And that's the right call. His season, over. He's not winning the championship. Anybody who thinks he is an idiot. But frankly, if you have to sit out the next 3 weeks in order to get 100% and then attack the last handful of weeks, go for it. We're racing Glendale, San Diego, Texas, and Atlanta. Those are the next 4 events. And frankly, sit out this weekend in Glendale, sit out in San Diego, come back at Texas or Atlanta maybe, James, if that's where you're feeling, if that's what you're feeling in your head. And maybe you just need a little bit of time off. You're hurt. Don't take the rest of the season off. Take the next 3 weeks off. See where you are after that. Obviously, he came back a little too quick. But frankly, what we were seeing from him on the bike this last weekend out in Oakland, phenomenal. He was riding so aggressively, but you could tell after a handful of laps, he really wasn't himself. That main event was the longest he's been on the bike in a while. So maybe next week, James, get on the bike, run 20 laps on a course. Doesn't matter what the course looks like. Run 20 laps. See how and where you are. If you're feeling great after 10 laps, 15 laps, go for the full 20. Go for 25. See what a longer race will do to you. And if you're still feeling good, come back in Glendale, San Diego, Texas, Atlanta. Come back whenever you're ready. But frankly, if I were James Stewart, I'd take Glendale off this weekend. Probably take San Diego off. Try to come back at Texas or Atlanta. Shut it down, recuperate, and come back when you're 100% or at least close to 100%. Because it's obvious if you're not fairly close to 100% ready to go, then you really shouldn't attempt it, James. We saw that this weekend. But hey, I'll tell you this, James. If anybody says anything about James Stewart not having the talent, the skills, or the desire to ride aggressively, they need to go back and look at the footage from this last weekend, because that was the James Stewart of old. That's the champion that I've been watching ride for years. That's the James Stewart I love to watch. And unfortunately, we didn't see him last year. Haven't seen him a whole lot this year, but you got to remember, he hasn't competed in a full event, start to finish, for almost 2 years now. That's something we have to remember. He sat out all of last year, has not completed an event this year. The most we've seen him on a bike was this last weekend for 9 races. He maybe physically needs to get back to where he needs to be. That's a very likely possibility. So that's something you should keep in mind. Now, shift gears a little bit here. Got a chance to sit down with Kurt Busch earlier this week. Talk to him about what the Indy 500 means for him, and more importantly, Kurt, are you ready for the 2016 season over at Stewart-Haas Racing? It's Kurt Busch here on ARN.
We're getting ready for the 2016 season, and it feels like we're a few seconds away from Daytona. Big question, are you ready?
Ready to go. I mean, when you do the media tour in Charlotte and it's the middle of January, you have to know that you've recharged your batteries by then, because it just feels like the phone's going to ring and somebody's going to say, hey, there's a practice session in Daytona, and you got to go.
Looking at the 2016 season, obviously big changes for Stewart-Haas Racing with your owner and your teammate Tony about to go out. How's the mood been in the shop? Is everybody kind of feeling, oh, this is Tony's last season, or is he just kind of like, hey, shut up, business as usual?
It's like an all-in feel. We're all in together to help him have a good retirement season. There was a couple crew chief changes, one for him, one for Danica, and this is the most I've seen the 4 teams unified at Stewart-Haas. It was kind of like a group of 2 and 2. Now we're seeing a group of 4.
Yeah, it seems like you and your teammate Kevin just kind of pulled away from Danica and from Tony last season, but you feel like you guys are sharing more resources and communicating more with him now?
Yeah, the way the structure was set up at Stewart-Haas is that it was individually tailored around the crew chief's direction. And I think some of that has been pulled back, or it's just the fact that you have 2 new guys. What are they going to do? They're going to look at the 2 successful ones and pattern more off of them.
And we're going to Daytona. We have the NASCAR West Tour, and it's kind of a homecoming for you because the first stop out here is Vegas. And you obviously, you're from Vegas. You have that hometown feel. Is that an advantage for you when you come out here?
Oh, I love the hometown feel. I love Vegas. I mean, who doesn't like Vegas? With the entertainment, the value of going to race weekend there is huge. And I'm excited because I'm on a road trip the whole thing, just like years past when I grew up racing out here in the desert Southwest. And it was always fun to branch away, to go down to the Phoenix Valley and go race there. And then that feel of the air in Southern California, you know, you have that humidity and that cool air. It was just something that hits you as a kid, and you always remember it. So I'm really looking forward to these 3 weeks. And like I said earlier, I hope we come away with a win or 3 wins out of these, because it helps with the whole season's attitude after this.
It seems like once you win a race within the first 10 races or so, the first half of the season, the rest of the year is kind of, the pressure's not there. Obviously, you want to go out and try to win every race, but how much of a difference is it to knock a win off early?
It's big. The mental side of it relaxes the team, and then it paces the team on being ready for September. It's the system. Whatever the system is, you have to find peace with it and a competitive edge. And to win early, that's the best competitive edge.
Absolutely. And this year it's the 100th Indianapolis 500. You ran it not too long ago. I mean, just now that it's the 100th, are you kind of reliving some of those memories a little bit?
Yeah, there's been different phone calls about doing it again this year. There's also been the memory of when I did run it. It was something special. It's something different about the month of May at Indianapolis than when we've run all the Brickyard 400s there. I'd love to do it again. I don't have an answer right now for it, but the experience of Indianapolis and the 100th year, I mean, a centennial anniversary, a celebration, is going to be huge this year, so it'd be fun to be part of.
Is it something you want to go to as a fan? If you decide not to run it, you want to go down there and maybe just hang out and absorb being there for the 100th the morning of?
Wish I could. I mean, I'll be in Charlotte for the Coke 600 that night. You would think by this day and age we could all figure out how to share certain days of the week to put on big spectator events for motorsports, but Memorial Day weekend, I mean, that is the weekend when you see it on all forms of media, online, print. Like the USA Today goes to a special Memorial Day edition, and that's when you see Formula One, you see Indy, you see the stock cars all on the page together.
Absolutely, and I got to think Charlotte Motor Speedway, they might be okay with you landing a helicopter on the infield again if you decide to go as a fan and even as a driver.
It was VIP access right there. Really enjoyed that whole experience.
That had to have been an incredible feeling, landing on that infield and just hearing the crowd erupt because they were so proud of what you did.
It was a special moment just to have all the choreographed infrastructure to put it all into place with Indy, with Charlotte, the track presidents, the teams I raced for, And then at the end of the day, yeah, it was pretty special to finish 6th. I had no idea I'd be able to do that good.
And not to mention the sponsors with Haas and with Monster Energy, not only helping you out with that event, but kind of stepping it up, Monster Energy in particular in 2016.
It's big. It's neat to see a new sponsor come to the Sprint Cup Series. Their activation will be second to none with the wholesalers, the distributors, but most importantly with the fan experience. At track, the excitement of the Monster girls, the value of that lifestyle in a can. Everybody wants to see what Monster's going to do next, and it's going to be great to have that banner in Sprint Cup.
We only have a few weeks until the season kicks off here. Good luck in 2016, and enjoy the next couple weeks off before we get going.
You got it. Thanks again. Appreciate the interview.
You could tell in his voice right there, and that's Kurt Busch right there talking about everything, from media week right there in NASCAR to getting ready for 2016. He really wants to do it. You could tell, and you could get that sense. He was quick to jump to the, I don't have an answer, politically correct answer. Can't really say yes, can't really say no, because he's kind of in the conversation. He's working out the details right now to see if he can do it financially, if he can get somebody to back him, if he can get a competitive ride. But they're also trying to figure out the logistics of it. That's another huge part of it. But also that third, thing that you have to think about, do I want to? Do I physically want to? Do I mentally want to go out there and do this? That's a hard question to answer. As a gearhead, as a race head, you can't not want to do it. There's no way. It's the 100th Indianapolis 500. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna like sell lemons on the corner to try to get some money together to buy a plane ticket to go out there if I'm a fan. Are you kidding me? I don't even need to actually buy a ticket to the race because it's gonna sell out. I just need to be in that town. I'll stand on the fence with my face pressed up against it 3 parking lots away just to get that close to the race, just to hear those cars, to be in that town as the 100th Indianapolis 500 is going. Are you kidding me? How can you not want to do that? Are you serious? It's going to be absolutely insane. I can't wait for the Indy 500 this year. I'm more curious to see if Kurt actually wants to pull it off. I can't think that he's going to say no, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility. So we'll see what happens. We'll go ahead and we'll step aside here again. We do have Denny Hamlin coming up later in the program to talk about how his recovery after his surgery on his knee is progressing. Is he ready for the 2016 season? Are there backup plans in case he's not 100% ready by the time Speed Weeks happens next week and the Sprint Unlimited next weekend? What would a Daytona 500 win mean to him? This is his 11th year, not only in Sprint Cup, but going for the Daytona 500. He's driving the number 11 car, which has had, let's just say, a lot of history at the 500, a lot of success. I don't know. This is going to be one of those interesting ones that we'll take a look at, and I got a chance to sit down with him, and we'll play that for you here in just a little bit in the program. But when we get back, want to talk about Oakland. Dungey wins it. What happened to Reed? Because he definitely wasn't 100% of what we've seen the last few weeks. What happened to Webb's bike? His streak ended, and it wasn't exactly of his doing, let's just say. So we'll take a look at Webb's bike. Plus, Peck and Freeze at it again? Wouldn't go that far, but definitely there was an on-track incident, let's put it that way. Dean Wilson out for the season, but maybe he's back in time for the outdoor series and maybe the last few races of Supercross. Yeah, it's going to get really interesting really quick here. So don't go anywhere. You're shifting gears right here on ARN.
Sick of bad race coverage or none at all from those other networks? Make ARN your one and only for all things motorsports. ARN, the Motorsports Authority.
It's the Nerdgasm Podcast.
I want to point this out, though. I think Kylo's getting you're getting a bad rep, Kylo, because he stopped a laser blast midair. He can suck thoughts out of your mind.
Yep.
He doesn't fear anybody.
Yep.
Takes a laser blast from Chewie's weapon.
Yep.
Not afraid to show his face. Approaches his enemies often. Fights while bleeding out in the freezing cold.
Oh, yeah.
And he's labeled a crybaby.
All right.
How is he labeled a crybaby?
The internet has labeled him a crybaby.
You know what?
Oh, my gosh.
I'm not the internet. I don't know.
Kylo took a lightsaber to the face.
He did.
And he just gave the death stare. He wasn't crying.
That was blood dripping down his face.
Those weren't tears. That was blood, dude.
Exactly. And if you want to claim that it were tears, then it was clearly the snow all over his face.
Now we can set the record straight.
All right.
So Kylo, no cry baby.
Download new episodes of the Nerdgasm Podcast every Friday on nerdgasmpodcast.com, on iTunes, and now available on Stitcher.
You must have thrown 1,000 pitches teaching him to hit a home run. Spent countless Saturdays running routes so he could learn to hit an open receiver. Endless afternoons teaching him how to hit the three-pointer. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit? Teaching boys that all violence against women is wrong is one of the most important things a man can do. Learn how to start the conversation at teachearly.org. Brought to you by Futures Without Violence and the Ad Council.
Download and listen to your favorite ARN programs on the go. Download Shifting Gears on ARNrace.com, iTunes, and now available on the Stitcher app. ARN, the Motorsports Authority.
Dwayne Johnson here. The earthquakes you see in movies are one thing, but real life is a completely different animal. Just because you can't predict an earthquake doesn't mean that you can't prepare for one. In the event of a real earthquake, you should drop, cover, and hold on. Visit ready.gov/earthquake and practice what to do to keep you and your family safe in the event of a real earthquake. And you'll be seen as a hero by your family and your loved ones.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council. You're shifting gears on ARN. Here's Alan Bailey.
The Nerdgasm Podcast is expanding. Log on to nerdgasmpodcast.com tomorrow to view the very first episode of Retro Replay, a brand new classic video game review show starring yours truly, Ben Magnet and Storm and Norman, only available on stashfeed.podcast.com. Excuse me, nerdgasmpodcast.com. Misreading that right there. Misreading the live reads. Go nuts. Welcome back to Shifting Gears, Gearheads. I'm Alan Bailey at The Alan Bailey on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, hashtag ARN in order to get in on this conversation as well. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that happened this last weekend out in Oakland. We saw some really great events, a really great racing, I should say, out in Oakland in Supercross this last weekend. No surprise, Ryan Dungey winning his third in a row in 450. I feel like I've read this headline 10,000 times, as early as last year, actually, as a matter of fact. But it's something that we've seen constantly out of Dungey, just continuing to put a smackdown on everybody. Third consecutive, his first ever at the O.Co Coliseum, though, in front of nearly 50,000 fans. He jumped out to an early lead, which I think is very important here. Dungey, he didn't have... at least in 16 so far before this last weekend, we didn't see him with those big starts where he was getting a great start and jumping out to an early lead. That's something that really I think he's been, I don't want to say working, that is something that they've been working on. Not only Dungey, but also his team. Red Bull KTM have been working on the gearing, have been working on the engines to make sure that they've got enough, takeoff, more or less, for lack of a better term, to start these races and to get out of the gate quicker for Dungey. And it's very obvious, and it's frankly scary for everybody else. But we saw Dungey take his first ever win in Oakland. We saw him lead a majority of the race. By lap 2, he took over the race lead right there. And really just, there you go. There you go. He extends his point lead to 22. We saw the Ken Roczen pass Stewart for the third position on the opening lap. Roczen passed Muskin for the second position on lap 4. And Muskin had the whole shot, had the early lead. Kept Dungey back there until lap 2, like I said. But like I said earlier in the program, Stewart withdrawing from the race on lap 8 or 9. I believe it was lap 9, actually, that he decided to call it quits. Blurry vision for him was the reasoning. these 8 laps the longest he's ever been on the track in 2016. He was off the track last year with his suspension in 2015. It'll be interesting to see if he will be back this weekend out in Glendale. No official word from the team. He's getting tests done today and tomorrow. We'll know more Thursday at the earliest from that camp. A good race for Roczen, another good one for Roczen. Second place finish for Roczen. Muskin finishing third, a career best for him. Now, the story of the night had to be Geico Honda's Christian Craig opening up with the whole shot, and Cooper Webb right there near the front got the lead, actually, with only a handful of laps in. Craig laid the first 3 laps before crashing, and Webb took over the lead. And really, it looked like the story that we've seen lap after lap after lap. And then, how do I describe this? It just ended 9 laps in to the main event. Webb had something that went wrong mechanically, and the bike stalled, literally, coming out of a turn. Nothing happened, and it was on a flat section of the track, lucky for him, but the bike just stopped going. Really, it was very interesting. Team owner Bobby Reagan said that they won't know for sure until today, but right now on Saturday, that they suspected that it was an electrical issue. Smoke was coming from the engine as Cooper was trying to kick it. The bike eventually refired after about a lap or two, but Cooper did a lap to finish the race, but the bike was ridden all the way back to the pits without trouble. Team manager Brad Hoffman said that it's something going on in there, because if raw fuel got dumped into the engine, it would mist out of the bike, and that could explain the smoke. But Webb said that it was a vapor lock when he was on the podium. But Hoffman doesn't think that's the case, because the EFI bikes with the pressurized fuel system virtually never vapor lock. So it would be incredibly rare if it did vapor lock. Webb said when he was on the podium that they took the gas cap off and they put it back on, and that somewhat fixed the problem. So vapor locking seems possible, but not likely. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But with Webb out, Joey Savage took his very first win in 250, now enters round 5 with a 2-point lead over Webb. Webb lost the point lead off that. Ouch. That's all I can say. He lost the point lead, losing the red plate this weekend. But, it happens. Mechanical failures like this happen, and all you can really do is try your best not to see it happen. But, yeah, it's one of those things that sucks. There's no way around it. But ultimately, you have to put this kind of stuff behind you, and you have to move on. And that's something that I'm sure he'll do. I'm sure we'll see Cooper Webb start a new win streak this weekend, potentially out in Glendale. But it's really just a matter of remembering that you have to put all this behind you, and you have to really, move forward. Webb will do that. Dungey, he's going to keep winning all year. There's no stopping that guy. That guy's eating his Wheaties now, so he's on another planet. That's all we can really say about Dungey. They're getting better, which is scary, super scary, and that's something that we'll continue to see from the team. Is Dungey just continuing to set the world on fire? But for now, everybody else just needs to really catch up, and at some point he'll retire. But for now, he's not. So for now, everybody has to play catch up. And we did see his teammate finish on the podium with him, Marvin Musquin, which was very cool. Ken Roczen coming home second. Very cool to see both those riders get strong finishes as well. But right now, that's what everybody's racing for, is second, with Dungey continuing to dominate like he has been doing. Chad Reed came home 5th, another top 5 for them. Chad Reed did get another bad start, though, a pretty bad start in this race. He was running about 9th or 10th on the start at the whole shot. At the conclusion of lap 1, he was about 8th or 7th, and really just worked his way up to 5th, and that's where he stayed. And in his defense, Dungey, Roczen, Muskin, Anderson had all pulled away by a hellacious amount, and Reed just never caught them, I believe. That was his problem. And again, it goes back to getting a good start. You need good starts in this series in order to really put yourself in a position to win. Looking at the point standings, Dungey leading Anderson by 22 right now. Chad Reed third, also 22 markers back. Roczen 25 markers back in 4th, and Cole Seeley is further back. He's 5th in the standings right now. Looking at 250, Zoe, looking at the points here. Yeah, 2-point lead. Joey Savat leading the points right now. Cooper Webb second, 2 points out. Only 5 markers back is Zach Osborne in 3rd. And looking at the points right here, 12 markers back is Colt Nicholas in 4th. Christian Craig is 5th in the standings right now, a little bit further back than everybody else. So the 250 is very much wide open. They're past the halfway mark in their season. They have a shorter season, so this is still anybody's championship. If Webb continues to have mechanical failures and problems after this weekend, it could happen. Anybody could nab it. I think it'll be very interesting if we see Craig get it, but who knows ultimately. Looking at another storyline that happened this last weekend. Stop me if you've heard this one before. In the 450 heat, Pike and Freeze got into it. No, I'm 100% serious here. 100% serious. We saw Freeze and Pike getting into it. Freeze on the outside, riding up right near the edge. Pike got in there and ultimately got into him. Like, I don't want to make it sound dirtier than it was, but just he knocked into him, and yeah, the 55 went down. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than that. A lot of people are arguing, oh, he's at it again, but I think it was a little bit simpler than that. I think ultimately it was a little bit of an aggressive pass, but I think that Pike did it clean. It really wasn't done in a dirty, malicious way. I just think that it was one of those racing deals. I don't think the 28 was attempting to knock him off and put him down, but even Freeze in the post-race interview said, no, that was a clean race, and it was just something that ultimately he just got into me. Nothing bad, nothing horrible about that one, but you can tell in the post-race interview right there, which is very odd for a 450 heat, but in the post-race interview with Fox Sports 1, yeah, pretty much Freeze wasn't sounding too devastated after it.
It's part of racing. We were riding hard. 4 spots out of that heat race is not very many, and there's about 10 guys that all are deserving of that spot, and they're all going to do whatever it takes to get there. Kind of like Anaheim won when me and Pike were racing hard. It's part of racing. He got his retaliation, I think, the wrong way the first time, and we're both on probation from that incident. So I would hope that AMA will handle it for me, and I didn't sign up for a fight. I signed up for a motorcycle race, and that's part of it. Slamming into each other. I'm not mad at him for that at all. I just, if I can't ride back like that, if I can't ride aggressive with him, he shouldn't be able to ride like that with me. But I would be totally cool with if we could just ride like that. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He was just making an aggressive pass on me and knocking me down, which is frowned upon by the AMA, and they're not wanting us to ride like that. But I'm looking forward to the semi. My bike's working great. Obviously, I got a good start. My team's got a great bike for me, and I think I'll be able to go, get a good result in the semi, put it in the main, and have a good ride.
You could tell right there, he was okay with it. And this was after heat race number 2, in case you're wondering, on Fox Sports 1. So that's why he sounded like that. So, or was talking about getting it in the main and racing like that. So, yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell. Just he brings up a good point. If one rider, if they can't be aggressive with each other, why does the 28 of Pike get to be aggressive with Freeze and not vice versa? They're on probation. It's something that they need to keep an eye on, and ultimately that's something that MMA does need to do, or the AMA, not the MMA. But they do need to keep an eye on this. it's something that these two riders, they've had run-ins in the past. They're both on probation still. And when one rider gets into another, you have to take a look at that. Was it that aggressive riding? Was that retaliation? Was it a dirty pass? What is that? Freeze is the one who typically is delivering these aggressive passes. Was Pike just being aggressive, and is he going to play it off of, oh yeah, I was just being aggressive? Or was that something more malicious? I don't know. That's something to sincerely keep an eye on. So we'll see what AMA has to say about that. But so far, nothing out of their camp, and it's coming up on 1 o'clock here in Southern California on Monday morning. So we'll see what happens ultimately. Now, before we get out of here, because we are short on time, want to play this for you. Got a chance to catch up with NASCAR's Denny Hamlin. He had surgery in the offseason. Is he 100% ready to go for Daytona, or is he still kind of recovering for that? Here's what Denny had to say.
Now, Denny, we're only a few weeks away from Daytona. It's your 11th 500, if I'm not mistaken. You're driving the 11 car. I don't know. I kind of like those odds.
I do. It definitely has a good ring to it for sure. And like I said, like we talked about earlier, I'm so close at the 500, finished in second and third and fourth over the last few years that we got to get that win. And we won in the unlimited race that leads up into it a handful of times, but haven't got that 500. So that's very important to us to get that done this year because obviously you don't get too many opportunities at this.
It seems like you guys have had the winning car, or at least one of the top winning cars, in the 500 and during speed weeks for the last few years, but just restrictor plate racing and everything that comes with restrictor plate racing just kind of keeps you away from that. What do you have to do this year?
It's just so strategic. I mean, and it's not about what you necessarily do. Is everyone around you, and everyone around you has to make the move for you to make your move. And so it's a constant game of chess of figuring out where to put your car at the right time to be out front on those last few laps. So it's very hard to do. It's obviously we haven't done it yet. It's been 10 years now. We've come close, so I feel like we're edging our way there towards the front, and this could be the year that we break through.
It could be, but something that did happen during the offseason is you had the surgery. How are you feeling, most importantly?
I feel better. Obviously, I've felt better also. So it's just anyone that's been through an ACL surgery knows that it's very painful for the first few months. You're going through the rehab, and then you're really a year out from when you really get back to 100%. So it'll be the end of the year before I am 100%, but inside the race car, everything should be fine by the time I get to Daytona in just a month or so.
How close are you percentage-wise? 30%? Yeah. 90%? Where are you?
I felt like I was 50%, a week ago. Now I feel like I'm 55, 60. It's just I continue to get better, and it all comes back to how much time can you spend in the gym getting it better.
And you look at this West Coast swing, the Auto Club Speedway, obviously it is one of the best, if not the best, racing that we see all year. But kind of mixed emotions for you. You've had good runs out there, but just also bad memories out there.
Yeah, it has been a tough racetrack physically on me for sure. With the wreck in 2013, but really we came back in 15. We ran really strong this past year and had a chance to win it. Had a pit road penalty at the end that kind of took us out, but I'm confident that it could be the racetrack that I break through and win at the first time. So I'd like to start crossing off these racetracks as I'm probably 50% over in my career. I'd like to start crossing off some of these racetracks I haven't won at yet, and Auto Club would definitely be at the top of the list.
You've been so good out there in the last handful of years. What leads to that success? Is it just the program at Joe Gibbs Racing, or is it just your driving style?
A little bit of both. I think that our cars have always run well there at Joe Gibbs Racing, but I think it's just that surface and the tire and how you have to run that as a driver. It just seems to fit my style a little bit better.
Absolutely, and your teammate Kyle winning the championship last season. Are you guys kind of looking at some of their notes from last season and comparing to what you have for this season?
Absolutely. I mean, you always look at anything that you can to make yourself better, and with those guys winning a championship, you kind of look at that and figure out how did they get through those 10 races unscathed and continue to move on. And so it's all about getting hot at the right time and winning that final race, obviously.
Absolutely, and I got to ask you, The Bachelor?
Yeah, to say I'm an avid watcher maybe is not correct, but, if I'm an innocent bystander on the couch while the girlfriend and her friends are out there watching, I'll watch it every now and then.
I mean, if your girlfriend's over and, you got a bunch of other beautiful women in the room, and they want to watch this, I don't think that's a really bad position.
Typically if you look around the nation, it's wine night for a lot of girls, so hey, I'll participate in that.
You're the designated driver, aren't you?
That's right.
Well, thanks, Denny, and good luck in 2016.
All right, thank you.
Designated driver for Wine Night and The Bachelor for a bunch of beautiful women. Honestly, that doesn't sound horrible. Like, yeah, you gotta watch a bunch of crazies on The Bachelor, but the trade-off is a room full of very beautiful women. You know what? I'm okay with that. That seems something I need to get in on, Denny. I'll give you that, Denny Hamlin. But you can tell right there, he's over 60% of the way recovered, and honestly, you really have this week and the following week leading up to the Sprint Unlimited. The Daytona 500 is in roughly 20 days. 20 days exactly, actually. It's February 21st on Fox. We will see the Sprint Unlimited next Saturday night, the 13th, and we do have the Can-Am duels on the 18th. So ultimately, he can sit out the Sprint Unlimited if he wants to. Don't think he is. He wants the seat time, wants to see how he'll be in a few weeks for the 500, but that's something he can realistically do. You have qualifying on Valentine's Day, the 14th. You have the Can-Am dual races from Daytona on the 18th, those two races that set the field for the Daytona 500. And then on the 21st, the Daytona 500. And then we have Atlanta and Vegas, and here goes the season. So he's obviously going to recover, going to do his exercising, get in the gym, get ready to go. It'll be interesting to see where he is in the first half of the season, and in particularly where he is at Daytona in a few weeks. Now, one more thing I want to do here is I want to talk about the 24 Hours of Daytona. And yeah, I know we don't talk a whole lot of sports cars on this show, but you know what? That's something I want to try to change, and we want to try to change here at ARN. So the 24 Hours of Daytona this last weekend, the 22-year-old racing prodigy from Brazil, Luis Felipe Dinardi, picking up the win in the overall class in the number 2 Tequila Patron ESM Honda-powered car, and his teammates on that, Scott Sharp and Ed Brown, as well as Jans van Overberg in that car as well, picking up the win in the Rolex 24 in 2016. Congratulations to them. Saw a great race. Lots of drama early on. In particularly, we saw an amazing finish with the Corvettes right there at the end. Normally, 24-hour races, you're talking about a lap, maybe 5-10 second gap between first and second place. We saw these two finish side by side. That, my friends, was racing at his finest, and to see him come home like that, those two team Corvettes, very, very cool to watch. That video is up in the media center on arnrace.com, as well as footage from the Pike Freeze Oakland incident, as well as Supercross Oakland highlights for 250 and 450 as well, if you want to watch that, as well as some behind-the-scenes footage of the Tequila Patron win for Honda. First ever win for Honda in the Rolex 24 at Daytona. I had to go back and double-check those stats because I truly did not believe that, but I'll tell you this, that's 100% accurate, which absolutely blew me away when I saw that. So congratulations to Honda on their first ever win in sports car and in the Rolex 24 in Daytona. Congratulations to that kid from Brazil picking up his first win in America, and it just so happens to be in one of the biggest races we see on American soil. Congratulations to them on that one. Huge win for them out there. I'll say this though, the Ford GTs, those EcoBoost cars, didn't have the best run. Saw a lot of technical issues out of them, but they know what they have to do. They'll get it done. Mark my words. We'll see some really good runs out of them in the future. One more thing that I do want to mention before we get out of here, as we are low on time. Nearly a week of silence after for his status of round 4 for Oakland this last weekend. KTM did announce before the race that Dean Wilson has a torn ACL and a bruised MCL and meniscus in his knee during the practice crash at Anaheim last weekend. Wilson will miss the remainder of Supercross, and the second straight season a torn ACL has ended his season early. He tore his ACL last season around this time and cut his season short. Talked to him last year. He was very optimistic, and talked to him earlier this year off mic. He was very happy about his off-season progress, excited for the year, and he's done for the year again, unfortunately. He flew to Belgium earlier this week. He had surgery Friday. That surgery was a success. Now he's just in recovery mode, and that's all you can realistically do at this time is get ready for 17 now. Ugh, that's horrific to say this early on in the year, but getting ready for 17, maybe come back for the outdoor series and see where you are, but that's racing, unfortunately. He did finish 9th and 15 respectfully in the opening 2 rounds of 2016 Supercross. So, Dean, get well soon, buddy. Hopefully we'll see you at the track very, very soon. So, that's going to do it for this edition of Shifting Gears. See, I got it all in. I told you I would, and I did. Yay! Congratulations to me. So that's going to do it for this edition of Shifting Gears. Log on to ARNrace.com to catch up on the news for the week, to see video highlights as well as photos from upcoming races, including what Clint Boyer's Visine car is going to look like for 16. For everyone here at ARN, see ya at the track.
You've been listening to the American Racing Network, a turn for media company. This is ARN, the Motorsports Authority.